It's Saturday morning cartoons once again. I don't know how much this has to do with Saturday morning cartoons, but it has a little something to do with the Golden Dawn. Now this is a pretty thick book. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's the complete Golden Dawn system of magic. There's lots of Golden Dawn books around by various publishers, and some of them have reprints of the original expose, I guess, of the Golden Dawn that Israel Regardie published the Rituals of Stella Matutina many years ago in the 1930s, and subsequent editions too. This is the edition he was working on and had completed, and Regardie died in 1985, just a short while after this volume that he worked so hard on with Christopher Hyatt and the good folks at the time, Falcon Press. And it is exactly what it says it is. It's the complete Golden Dawn system of magic. And this, of course, is a limited leather edition kind of thing, but it's the one I have. But there's multiple more reasonable editions around everywhere, and most any book that advertises itself as the Golden Dawn is probably a pretty good book for you to have in your library and for you to study. Because if you're unfamiliar with basic structure and the method to the madness of the Golden Dawn, then it's going to be very difficult for you to understand pretty much all aspects of modern magic. It is basically the foundation upon which the AA system is based. And so in order for you to actually get a good grasp, good education on modern magic, it's good to be familiar with the Golden Dawn. Now, is it necessary for you to undergo Golden Dawn initiations? No, I guess this is my simple answer. Simply because it is so difficult for you to find not impossible, but difficult to find people doing standard old-style Golden Dawn rituals that make their organizations open to you. Be that as it may, there's nothing to stop you from absorbing the material yourself, and at such time as you may run into the opportunity to take a real physical temple initiation, then you'll know exactly what's going on, and it'll be quite rewarding. Why am I showing you all of that? I'm not going to. I wrote 2 introductions and some collateral material in that book, but I'm not going to read from that. I'm going to read something that I wrote for something that's even more introductory. And this is a book by Israel Regardie called Ceremonial Magic Guide to the Mechanisms of Ritual. And it's got, well, it's got cool pictures of Regardie. There he is. That's my favorite. Constance made a painting of this portrait of Regardie that for a book that I guess has not yet been published, but that's kind of my favorite. He looks like such a wonderful, mystical, innocent nerd, doesn't he? Well, he looked a little different than that when I knew him. Let's see if there's a later picture. Maybe not. Anyway, when it says basic principles, that's just what it means. And if you are dabbling, if you are, I don't mean this as a disrespectful term, but if you are a dilettante and not super into magic and Golden Dawn, but would like to know a little bit more about magic in general, Regardie wrote this for you. I'll just give you the idea of what it contains. Basic principles, ritual of opening by watchtower, then opening by watchtower, first elaboration and second, completed ritual, a magical Eucharist, equipment and paraphernalia. Isn't that handy stuff? Background data. This is for part 2. Concerning the bornless ritual. Origin, intent of the bornless ritual, and then comparisons. And the appendices is just full of goodies. A fragment of a Greco-Egyptian work on magic, which the bornless ritual came out of. A Greek ritual of magic. Preliminary invocation of the Goetia, Liber Samech by Aleister Crowley, the Holy Guardian Angel ritual, and the banishing ritual of the pentagram. Well, it's more than the banishing ritual of the pentagram. It's things that we've discussed in just the last few weeks or so. It does have the banishing ritual of the pentagram, but it's got the key to the greater ritual of the pentagram, which opens by spirit active or passive, to open up the specific elements themselves. And it shows you how to draw your pentagrams and what divine names are proper to intone as you do that. Then there's the lesser ritual of the hexagram. And what I really appreciate, the use of the unicursal hexagram to invoke or banish the specific planetary spheres. It's a cool little book. And it's made available by New Falcon Publications, of course. And I hope you can still find it, because books like this sometimes have a short run. But anyway, I'm going to read. The publisher asked me to write an introduction to this just a couple years ago, and so I'm going to share that introduction with you this morning. I promise to get you out of here fast. It's like a dream come true to introduce books by hero authors that inspired you when you were young. But there we go. And it starts with an epigram here that's taken right from the Bornless ritual itself. Come thou forth and follow me, and make all spirits subject unto me, so that every spirit of the firmament and of the aether, upon the earth and under the earth, on dry land or in the water, of whirling air or of rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient unto me. It's been a little over 50 years since I took my first stumbling steps on the path of ceremonial magic and the Western mysteries. I find it impossible to explain why I was drawn to this colorful and easily misunderstood spiritual art form. Perhaps it was my utter disgust for the willful ignorance, hypocrisy, and mean-spirited bigotry displayed by my good Christian elders growing up in 1950s rural Nebraska. Perhaps it was simply the liberating byproduct of my college fascination with the colorful and exotic teachings of Eastern mysticism. Or perhaps it was simply the result of just the right amount of lysergic acid, ingested at just the right sunrise, breaking over just the right desert horizon, at just the right instant in the sidereal ballet of every spinning celestial sphere in the cosmos. Whatever the reason, when I finally woke up to the realization that any path to enlightenment could potentially be the right one, it was clear to me that my foot was already 2 or 3 giant strides along the path of ceremonial magic. Whatever it was certainly not because I was a good student. I've always been an incorrigible student. Were I struggling in today's school system, they might diagnose me with attention deficit disorder or other such condition to explain why I was such an habitually disruptive class clown. Whatever the cause, I've never been good at structured education or learning things in groups or being overtly respectful to teachers or authorities who have not, by some display of superior wisdom or extraordinary character traits, attracted my admiration or earned my awe and respect. When I do run across such individuals, learning ceases to be a labor and becomes a religion. I started reading books by Israel Regardie in 1972. About the same time, I started to study the works of Aleister Crowley. At the time, I would have jumped at the chance to become an initiate of the Golden Dawn. But if there was a bona fide active Golden Dawn within 1,000 miles of my home, I certainly was not aware of it. Regardie himself was quite approachable and most supportive of the idea of Golden Dawn groups forming. But he was highly dismissive of the idea of all those who would try to claim any kind of exclusive, sacred lineage. He stressed only the importance of the quality of the work being done and the sanity of the individuals doing the work. His early and continual warm support of the work being done in Florida by Chick and Tabitha Cicero was shared by many of us. And the decades of continuing success is proof that Regardie's support was well placed. Today there are several other active Golden Dawn structured orders doing independent temple work worldwide. I have been privileged to witness the work of several of them, including several that have developed a kind of hybrid Golden Dawn by artfully, and in my opinion appropriately, introducing certain new aeon thelemic formulae into the evolving organism of the order. And in recent years, I've seen absolutely wonderful, magnificent applications of this thelemic Golden Dawn type hybrid. Sadly, I feel that not every group calling itself the Golden Dawn nowadays can be recommended. Caveat emptor is as true in the marketplace of occult orders as it is on the used car lot. And the would-be initiate is always encouraged to use his or her best instincts and common sense. If the member or members or leaders of such groups seem a little overeager in their attempts to proselytize, or appear overly fixated on their direct lineage to MacGregor Mathers or Jesus Christ, or spend a lot of time rambling about how monstrous and terrible all the other Golden Dawn groups are, you might interpret such behaviors as red flags. Curiously, this little book by my dear departed friend and mentor came to me in the most roundabout manner long after his death and many years after it would have helped me most in my magical studies. There is not a doubt in my mind that it should have been among the very first bonbons of serious occult confection I needed to pop into my magical maw during the first half-dozen years of my fumbling efforts to educate myself. But it wasn't. Instead, I spent far too many confusing years looking for a place to actually start practicing this stuff, and blindly shoving my nose against grindstone of old Llewellyn 2-volume sets of Golden Dawn, believing it to be the sacred font of all ceremonial magic wisdom. And don't get me wrong, that 2-volume set, later 1-volume set, is still excellent reference work. Please don't misunderstand me. That classic text is precisely such a wellspring of knowledge. But just as fans of Arnold Schoenberg or Igor Stravinsky most likely cut their musical baby teeth on folk melodies or Mozart, the ponderous material in the Golden Dawn, even Regardie's Golden Dawn, is for the beginner perhaps not the best place to start. Ceremonial Magic, A Guide to the Mechanics of Ritual, on the other hand, is a happy medium positioned somewhere between the ponderous lectures, group ceremonies, and initiations of a highly structured occult initiatory society, and a compact, practical handbook of the core material that encourages the solo practitioner to begin a hands-on program of self-initiation. If I were to make a very generic recommendation as to how the new or relatively new student should utilize this book, I would say, study and begin the ritual practices and meditations in this little guidebook. Treat it sort of like your own self-administered catechism manual. Don't be overly concerned if at first you don't completely understand a few things. Confidently assume that you soon will, and move on with your practices. 2. Create a journal of your daily practices. Treat this little book as the only book on the subject that you have. Treat this little book as the only book on the subject that you have. Give yourself just 1 year. I said 1 year. And at the end of the year, buy or borrow the large Golden Dawn book. I suggest Regardie's Complete Golden Dawn System of Magic. But like I say, any of them are fine. And I think Llewellyn has a nice single volume set annotated by the Ciceros. I am confident that the moment you start reading it, The essence of the magic work of the Golden Dawn will unfold its secrets to you like a flower. And that was, I wrote that June 21st, 2020. So that was a little recent thing I put together. Again, that particular book is Ceremonial Magic, a guide to the mechanism of ritual, published by New Falcon Publications. If it is out of print, I'm sure you can Etsy around and find it at a very reasonable price. Gee, I sound like a salesman. Well, it's Cartoon Saturday morning. Okay. Anyway, until tomorrow for Sunday school, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.